So I'm working on an FS-6 compressor, and the clutch burned out. As you can see, there's all this red rust-colored dust all over the pulley and all over the bracket. This came off of a 1988 Ford IDI van. So to take it off is pretty straightforward. There's a lot of videos on the internet about it, but I thought I would just do this one as well. You take off this guy, and the most crucial thing is you have these washers in the center of this clutch, and you have to make sure to pull them out. They're basically shims, and then when you put the new clutch on, you have to put them back in there. There's also some measurements you have to do, which I'll talk about later. Anyway, this just comes off. Might be hard to do with one hand. I gotta be real careful so I can find those washers. Alright, there they are. Is there any inside? Doesn't look like it. So I'm gonna carefully remove them. Looks like there's about 8 of them here. This is gonna be really hard to do here. So there's all the spacers, the washers that came off of it, and there's the condition of the clutch, and it's pretty worn. Now in here there's a retaining, get my little retainer that I gotta take off. So I'm gonna dig him out. I mean, before I take him off, you can hear that scratchy noise. The bearings are shot in this thing. And there's even a little bit of an eccentricity on the spin. So I'm gonna take this retainer. Okay, so that guy just came off. Save him just in case. I think the new one comes with a new one anyway. And then this should come off, but I can't do it with one hand. So I hooked up this 3-sided pulley puller on here. Normally I wouldn't do it this way, but it feels kind of loose, so it's probably not gonna take that much effort to pull off here. I'm gonna give it a shot. Also, I got a new pulley with the new clutch anyway, so if this one gets destroyed, we'll see what happens. Oh yeah, it's coming up easy. Yeah, I might as well just pull this off. There we go. Alright, now there's the electrode, and you can see up there my connector got damaged when a belt came off when I was driving to the desert. And the new one comes with a new clip. We gotta use the puller to pull this off as well. This is a lot harder than the other one. As you can see, there's another one of those retainer clips, so we gotta pull that off. And in here, there's the bearing, and you can see there's all kinds of metal. This actually could be bad for my the seal on the pump itself. I won't know for sure, but all that metal in there is not a good sign. So as I was fiddling with this thing, I realized this thing's just loose in here. I still haven't got the retainer off because due to the poor design of this thing, I can't actually get my snaps in there, so I'm going to have to be a little creative to get that off. So I got it out. Basically, I just used a really like pointy needle nose pliers and jammed it in the holes and was able to get it out. Took a little bit of effort. Alright, I got that retainer off. It's really sloppy in there. Okay, so I kind of wiggled it off in there. So that's a lot of gunk, and it is back behind there, which is not a good sign. Anyway, this is all rusty, and the electrical connector's busted on it, so I'm kind of glad I'm changing her out. Next, I hit it with a little bit of air just to kind of blow out any little crevasse, but you gotta be careful up on top. I taped these things down. It's not really staying. You don't want to put any grime or dust into the compressor, so can't do that while holding the camera. So just blow it out, wash it out as best you can. So cleaned up the front a little bit, sprayed her down, wiped her down. This is probably as good as you can get. And then I went through the grooves and tried to clean those off as much as possible. Well, here's the new kit. They say that it's some sort of universal clutch, but it looks just like the one I have, so should pretty much work exactly the same way. I took it off, So the new one just basically goes on and you have to match up. There's a little stud on the compressor and then it locks in place. And then you need to put that retaining pin back in there. Kit comes with a bunch of hardware, looks like some spare shims, more retaining items. I finally got that thing in there. That was a pain in the butt without the right tool, so I recommend getting the right length one of these guys. Well, you can get it in there, but it was a pain. Alright, so I didn't want to put this on before I showed you it, but basically it kind of just slid on. I had to wiggle it on a little bit, but basically it should just push on. Yeah, see, it's kind of pushing in. Might take a little bit of tapping, but normally I'd show the whole process, but it just kind of came on. I want to take it off since I already got it. I did put a little bit of grease on there just to make it easier, just in case it was kind of tough, but it fit on there pretty well. There, I just pushed it down tight. Oh, there's a little bit of rubbing. I took it off and then I tapped the retainer in a little bit more, and I think it was just a little bit out. Now it spins freely. It's pushed all the way in. I don't know why it was doing that before, but you want to make sure that it spins, that the bearing is doesn't make any sounds, and it should be good to go. Next is another one of the retainers. Put this guy in. Can't do that with one hand. Okay, got it in, and you want to make sure that it's tapped in all the way around. So it doesn't look like it's in all the way, but it has this weird eccentricity to it, probably so that it's equal weight all the way around. Anyway, this is in the groove. Just want to check and make sure that it is. Alright, then just make sure it spins freely. No rubbing. Looks good. So here's the weird thing. Here's the manual, and it says put a feeler gauge in there. It says that's for figure 14. If you go back to a few pages, about figure 14 says check the air gap between the hub and the mating surface. And you got to turn it 180 degrees, make sure it's there. But it doesn't tell you what the spec is, so I'll keep looking. Alright, I found it at the back of the chapter. There it is, air gap between the pulley and the hub, 0.021, 0.036. In the center shaft here, there's this key, and you gotta match it up when you put this on. And it should just slide on. Oh boy. Alright, so it's in. Now, right now it's set in with no washers. And then you need to do is put a bunch of these washers in there until you can slide in a feeler gauge. If you don't have feeler gauges, this is what feeler gauges look like. They have a number on each of them. And that's the distance. So you slide it in, you check in the 1/3 points, and then you turn it 180 degrees and you check in the 1/3 points again. Okay, so I tighten her down again. Right now I'm using a 0.025. Doesn't really fit. Try a different size here, like a 0.22 or 0.022. No. Let's see if a 0.02 is getting closer, but it's still not going in. So I gotta take it off, put another shim in there. Try a 0.026. It's pretty good. A little bit of resistance. Kind of pulls on it. Alright. And then try it again, just make sure. I think this is alright. Basically, that's it. Torque this down, and you're all set.